They say the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Grace thought to herself. But is that always true? Should your past define your future? My name is Grace, and I'm living proof that people can change their destiny, no matter where they come from. Look, there she goes again. She barely comes home. Word is, she's probably hustling just like her mom did. One nosy neighbor gossiped. Really? I wouldn't be surprised. Her mom was the same. Another woman chimed in. It's such a shame. Wasn't her mom running around with different men before she died? Grace could hear every word as she passed by them. She was heading to her childhood home to grab a few belongings. She'd finally found an apartment close to her new job and had no plans of ever coming back to that judgmental neighborhood. Grace, is that you? You've grown so much. I just got back from Europe. I wish I'd been home when your mother passed away. How have you been? It was Melinda, her late mother's former best friend. I'm happy to see you again, Miss Melinda. Life's better now. I managed to put myself through college, Grace replied with a polite smile. It had been nearly 5 years since Grace's mother died. She remembered being called by neighbors when her mother passed out drunk. By the time they brought her to the hospital, it was too late. Grace never cried, not even at the burial. It felt like the universe had punished her just for being her mother's daughter. She grew up alone, no siblings, no clue if her father was even alive. I'm glad to hear that, Grace. You've been through so much, especially with the way the neighborhood treated you back then. If I had been here, I would have helped, Melinda said sadly. I appreciate that, but I have a lot to do today. Please excuse me, Grace replied, trying to end the conversation. She didn't want to revisit the past, especially not the part where her mum was known as a pimp. Her mother was manipulative, always chasing after men for money. With so many different partners, she didn't even know who Grace's real father was. She drank heavily, gambled, and neglected Grace, forcing her to become independent at an early age. But despite everything, Grace grew up kind, smart, and resourceful. She rose from poverty and managed to graduate with honors. I just need a few things, she whispered to herself, gripping her bag tightly as she walked out of the small house for the last time. I'm not coming back here, and wherever I end up, I hope the past doesn't chase me. Hey, where are you going with that bag? Will you be gone long? Melinda called from her porch next door. Thank you for your concern, Ms. Melinda. But as I said earlier, I'm doing fine now. I'd appreciate it if, when we meet again, you don't bring up the past, Grace replied, with respectful firmness before turning away. Grace, going somewhere again? Stay a while. I miss drinking with your mom, one drunk man called out from the curb. Yeah, you don't even talk to your neighbors anymore, acting like you're better than us. Another added, we all know where you came from. You should use that pretty face the way your mum did. Grace didn't respond. She walked faster, determined not to let their words pierce her. When she got to the street, she hailed a taxi, climbed in, and wiped away tears that had started to fall. She swore to herself that it would be the last time she cried over people who judged her based on a past she had nothing to do with. Everyone assumed she would become like her mother, but she'd worked her entire life to make sure that never happened. Miss Grace, is the bride ready? I'm so excited to see her. Everyone's loving the reception setup, said Kyla, Grace's assistant in her wedding planning business. In that case, focus on what still needs to be done. Just let me know if anything comes up, Grace replied with a smile. Kyla nodded and walked off, leaving Grace standing where the ceremony was being held. The wedding had just begun, a beach wedding with perfect weather, not too hot, no signs of rain, and soft clouds drifting in the afternoon sky. Grace watched with joy as the bride walked down the red carpet aisle. The decorations were luxurious yet tasteful, not overshadowing the bride's beauty or the groom's charm. I wonder who the wedding planner is. My client's looking for one, and whoever did this nailed it, said a man to another guest. Grace turned her head toward the man who suddenly appeared beside her. His striking face caught her off guard. Tall, chocolate, skinned, clean-cut. He looked like a model, possibly mixed race. "Are you okay, miss? Do I have something on my face?" the man asked with a polite smile. Snapping back to reality, Grace replied, I'm the wedding planner. My name's Grace Tolentino." "Oh, you're the one. I'm Caleb Salvador," he said, offering his hand. "If you don't mind, can we talk after the ceremony? I think we can help each other. I have a business proposal that I believe will benefit us both." Grace nodded in agreement. After a few minutes, the ceremony ended. Grace got to work with the catering team to make sure food was served on time. She moved efficiently, addressing every detail with the precision of a seasoned professional. The guests were delighted, and the bride and groom were all smiles. Later, Grace and Caleb met and finalized an agreement. Grace would plan the wedding of Caleb's new client. The schedule worked perfectly for her, and they agreed to meet with the client soon. "Thank you for not letting me down, Grace. My client was thrilled with everything. I'm definitely recommending you to more people I know," Caleb said warmly. "Thank you too, Caleb," Grace replied. They were seated in a coffee shop near Grace's apartment. Caleb had invited her to meet in person so he could thank her directly. "You don't have to thank me," Grace said modestly. "By the way," Caleb added, "since we already know each other, and to be honest, I really enjoy your company. I'd like to invite you to my birthday party tomorrow. I hope you'll come." Grace paused. She wasn't sure if she should say yes, but maybe it was time to move forward, stop looking back. She liked Caleb. She could tell he liked her too. And so far, he knew nothing about her past. To most people, Grace had grown up in foster care, her parents unknown. "Sure," she said. "I don't think I have anything planned tomorrow. Do you want anything in particular as a gift?" "That's not necessary. I'll be happy if you can be there," Caleb replied. Grace smiled and nodded. Their conversation continued as they learned more about each other. After a while, they each went home. Grace walked to her apartment with a happy heart, excited about how things were unfolding between her and Caleb. The next day, Caleb's birthday party was held at a luxury hotel. Grace was warmly welcomed as one of Caleb's friends. No one knew her, and in her elegant outfit, she mingled easily with the upper-class crowd. "Slow down, Caleb, you're heavy," Grace muttered playfully as she helped the slightly drunk birthday boy back to his hotel room. "Of all the people at the party, I'm the lucky one who gets to carry you to bed," she teased. They eventually made it to his room. Grace opened the door. She had his key and helped him lie down, removing his shoes. She turned to leave, but Caleb suddenly grabbed her hand. "Grace, I like you," he said seriously. "What did you say?" she asked, unsure if she'd heard him right. Her heart started racing, not out of fear, but something else. Caleb didn't answer. He pulled her toward him gently, and their eyes met. "I like you, Grace. Do you like me too?" he whispered. Grace felt the closeness between them, the scent of wine still lingering on him. Before she could say anything, Caleb leaned in and kissed her. Grace was surprised, but something about his touch sent a warm shiver through her. Slowly, she responded to his kiss. Caleb gently laid her down on the bed. "I'm nervous, Caleb," she whispered, gasping lightly as his kisses trailed lower. "Just tell me if you want me to stop," he whispered. But Grace said nothing. Her silence was filled with trust and surrender. They undressed each other slowly until nothing was left between them. Caleb whispered her name as they met intimately. Grace winced as he moved, feeling both pain and something deeper as he filled her. But the pain soon faded into pleasure. They didn't stop at once. It happened a few more times before they finally collapsed, exhausted, in each other's arms. The next morning, Grace woke up to the sight of Caleb's sleeping face. "Good morning, Grace," he greeted her with a soft smile, kissing her forehead. Her heart fluttered, and shyly, she greeted him back. Days passed, and Grace and Caleb began seeing each other more frequently. Grace eventually confessed her feelings, and soon they officially became a couple. One evening, they walked into a restaurant for a business party. Grace immediately recognized several familiar faces, past clients and contacts from her event planning business. "Caleb, is that really you?" a man exclaimed, rushing over and hugging him tightly. "Christian, long time no see." Caleb laughed, hugging his cousin in return. "You've gotten more handsome. Still not better looking than me, though," Christian joked. Before Caleb could reply, a beautiful woman joined them and kissed Christian on the cheek. "Hi, babe. Aren't we going to sit down? I've been talking to everyone here already," she said sweetly. "Of course, babe, but first I want you to meet my cousin, Caleb. Caleb, this is Emily, my fiancée," Christian introduced. Caleb gave a small smile. He was about to introduce Grace when Emily suddenly reacted. "Grace? Grace Tolentino? Oh my God, it's really you. I almost didn't recognize you," Emily gasped. Grace couldn't respond. She froze as her eyes locked on Emily, clearly uncomfortable. "You two know each other?" Caleb asked, brows furrowed. "Of course, we're cousins. Well, we met only once. Her mother was my mom's sister, the black sheep of the family. That's why my mom never wanted us to be close. If I remember right, Grace's mother was a prostitute. Is that right, Grace?" Emily asked. Grace couldn't speak. Her hands grew cold. Was this the moment Caleb would learn the truth about her past? What would he say? Would he walk away? They were lucky no one else overheard. The music and conversation in the restaurant masked the tension. "Her mom was a pimp," Christian laughed. "And now she's dating my cousin? Are you scamming him, Grace? What did you do, Caleb? Pick her up off the street?" "Watch your mouth, Christian," Caleb warned with a sharp tone. "You don't know Grace." "Do you?" Christian shot back. "Why don't you ask her about her past? Don't you think you should know everything about the woman you're dating? Like how her mom was paid to sleep with men? Can you accept that?" Grace stood frozen, trembling. She pulled her hand from Caleb's grasp, her voice low. "Is what they're saying true, Grace?" Caleb asked. Grace's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Caleb. I'm sorry I didn't tell you sooner about my mom. I'm sorry I lied and said I was from a foster home. I thought it would be better." Before Caleb could respond, Emily jumped in again. "You liar! You're just after Caleb's money, aren't you? How dare you deceive him like this?" Grace didn't answer. She quickly turned around and ran out of the restaurant. Caleb called after her, but she didn't look back. She only wished he wouldn't follow her. Grace returned to her apartment and immediately packed her belongings. She needed to get away. A new opportunity was waiting for her in Canada, and she decided to go. She had initially wanted to decline the offer because of Caleb, but now that her past has caught up with her, she just wants everything to be over. 3 months later. "Congratulations, Ms. Tolentino. You're 3 months pregnant, with twins," the doctor said with a smile. "We'll schedule regular monthly checkups to monitor the babies. Please fill out this form." Grace was stunned. She'd felt off for weeks, but this? She hadn't been with anyone since arriving in Canada. There was no doubt who the father was. She thanked the doctor and went home quietly. Her career in Canada was thriving, and now a new challenge awaited her. As she stepped out of the hospital, she touched her belly and whispered, "No matter what happens, I'll never see you as bad luck. I'll love you with all my heart. I'll never let you suffer like I did." Days turned to months. Eventually, she gave birth to healthy twin boys who grew up kind, polite, and intelligent. Finally, after 6 years, Grace returned to the US. "Mommy, are we going to live here now? Aren't we going back to Canada?" asked Ethan, the older twin, now 6 years old. Of course, we can still go back any time, Eric, the younger twin, chimed in. We're returning to Canada next month, kids. I just need to handle some things for my business here first, Grace answered sweetly. The twins nodded excitedly as they entered the apartment they would be staying in. Later that day, the boys begged Grace to take them out. Though tired from travel, she agreed and brought them to a nearby park bustling with children. Stay right here, boys. Don't go anywhere. I'm just taking a client call, Grace instructed. The twins nodded, and she stepped away a short distance. Do you think we'll ever meet our dad here? Eric asked his brother. We don't even have any clues about who he is, so I don't really know, Ethan answered. It's sad not knowing who our dad is, but maybe Mommy has her reasons for not telling us. Maybe she hasn't told us because we never asked, Eric said. Should we ask her? Let it go, Eric. Let's just wait until Mommy decides to tell us, Ethan replied calmly. Eric could only nod in agreement. They continued playing until the sound of car horns caught their attention. Are you out of your mind? Trying to kill yourself? Get off the road, shouted a man leaning out of a car window. The boys turned toward the scene. A distressed elderly man clutched his chest, struggling to breathe. He looked like he was trying to speak but couldn't. Ethan, I think he's having a heart attack. Let's help him, Eric yelled, running toward the man. Ethan hesitated but quickly followed. As they reached the old man, they called out for help, but no one came. Bystanders simply looked on and walked past. The twins flagged down a taxi and helped the man inside. Eric jumped in first. Ethan wasn't planning to go, but seeing his brother wouldn't get out, he followed. Just breathe deeply, sir. We're almost at the hospital, Eric said over and over. I know it's an emergency, but do you kids even have money for the fare? The cab driver asked bluntly. Sorry, I'm just doing my job, and the hospital's a bit far. Ethan quickly reached into the old man's pocket and found some money. He used it to pay the driver. When they arrived at the hospital, nurses and doctors rushed to attend to the man. The boys didn't leave. They had no way back to the park, and the taxi had already driven off. You're the ones who brought in Mr. Antonio Salvador. What's your relation to him? A doctor asked, once the elderly man had stabilized. We don't know him, Ethan replied. We just saw him on the street having a heart attack, so we helped him. Can you help us get home too? Our mom is probably worried by now, he added. The doctor was surprised. In that case, I'll help you. Just tell me your mom's full name, and I'll do everything I can to find her. For now, stay in the room with Mr. Salvador. He'll probably want to meet the kids who saved his life. Thank you for helping him. We're just glad he's okay, Ethan replied. But next time, please tell an adult first. What you did was very dangerous, the doctor added. Sorry, doctor, Eric replied. One of our teachers had a heart attack before and no one helped him. He didn't make it. I panicked. I didn't want that to happen again. The doctor gave a small smile. I understand, and when I find your mom, I'll explain everything so she doesn't scold you too much. The twins smiled and followed the doctor to the room where the elderly man was resting. When they entered, he was lying on a hospital bed, just regaining consciousness. The doctor explained everything to him, including how amazed he was by the boys' bravery. You're the kids who helped me? Thank you so much. I'm incredibly grateful for what you did. Not many children would do something like that for someone like me, Antonio said weakly. It was nothing, sir. We're just happy we could help, Ethan replied. We don't need anything in return. We just want to go home now. Our mom's probably really worried. I understand. Don't worry, the doctor's already working on that, Antonio said kindly. For now, just stay here with me, so I know you're both safe. The twins didn't argue. Antonio seemed like a kind man, and they felt comfortable around him. Soon, Nurses arrived with food for them, but the boys didn't eat. Their mum had taught them never to accept anything from strangers. They waited patiently for news from the doctor. Suddenly, the door opened again. A tall, handsome man walked in and rushed to Antonio's side. "How are you feeling? I told you not to drive alone anymore. You're 70. You shouldn't be out by yourself. If you don't like the driver I hired, call me next time and I'll take you wherever you need to go." The man scolded gently. "I'm fine, Caleb. I just didn't want to bother you. I know how busy you are," Antonio replied. "You're not a burden, Grandpa. You're the only family I have left. It stresses me out when you do things like this," Caleb said. All right, I'm sorry," Antonio said, then smiled. "What matters is I'm okay now, and it's all thanks to these two boys who helped me get to the hospital." He motioned toward the twins, who were sitting quietly on a couch in the corner. "They're Ethan and Eric. Aren't they just the most well-mannered kids? I asked the doctor to find their mom. I want to thank her personally." Caleb looked at the twins, observing their faces closely. Something about them seemed oddly familiar. "Do you see it too? They kind of look like you when you were little, don't they?" Antonio asked. Caleb blinked. Now that it was mentioned, he did see it. The resemblance. It was uncanny, and stirred a strange feeling in him. "Could he be our dad?" Eric whispered to Ethan. "You don't know who your dad is?" Antonio asked, startled. "Where is he?" "We're not sure. Mommy doesn't really talk about him," Ethan answered. "What's your mom's full name?" Caleb asked nervously. He wasn't sure why, but something told him he needed to hear their answer. Grace Tolentino," Eric replied. Caleb's eyes widened in shock. "How old are you?" he asked. "We're turning 7 next month. Why?" Ethan replied. "Do you know our mom?" Before Caleb could respond, the door opened again. A nurse stepped in, accompanied by a woman Caleb instantly recognized. "Ethan! Eric!" Grace exclaimed as she ran to her children, wrapping them in a tight hug. She immediately inspected them from head to toe. "Are you okay? Did anything bad happen to you? I already heard what happened. Why did you do that? Why didn't you ask an adult for help?" "I'm sorry, Mommy. It was all my fault," Eric cried. "I got scared and Ethan just followed me." "It's my fault too, Mommy. I didn't stop him," Ethan added. Grace sighed and cupped their cheeks. "What you did was dangerous, even if it came from a good place. You know how much I worry about your safety." They hugged her back tightly. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Grace." She froze and turned slowly toward Antonio, but it wasn't him who had spoken. It was Caleb. "It's really you, Grace. I've been looking for you for years. You never gave me the chance to talk. You just disappeared. And now, seeing you again, you already have a family," Caleb said, stunned. Grace said nothing. She only tightened her grip on her children's hands. She was about to leave when Antonio spoke again. "Caleb, is she the one who gave birth to them?" Grace froze in place. She couldn't move. "Judging by your reaction, I think I'm right," Antonio said. "I want a DNA test with my grandson and your children. If it's negative, I'll compensate you. But if it's positive, you'll give Caleb the custody he deserves." Grace took a deep breath and looked Antonio straight in the eye. "You can't scare me that easily. My son saved your life. I'd appreciate it if you backed off and left us in peace. We didn't do anything wrong. If you're being this defensive, it only makes me believe I'm right," Antonio said. "You can't keep hiding the truth from your kids forever. Would you be so selfish as to keep them from their real father, who's more than capable of supporting them?" "Grandpa, that's enough," Caleb said, trying to calm him. He turned to Grace. "Can we talk in private? Just you and me. Please leave the boys here for just a few minutes." Grace hesitated, But deep down she knew Antonio's words struck a nerve. She had grown up without love from her parents. She didn't want the same for her sons. "I'm sorry about what my grandfather said," Caleb told Grace, once they stepped outside the hospital room. "His blood pressure's high, and honestly, he doesn't filter what he says anymore. He just blurts things out, without caring who might get hurt. What matters most to him is what's right and what's true." "I understand," Grace said softly. "You don't have to apologize for him." "Is it true?" Caleb asked. "I mean, is it really possible that I'm their father? Did you never have a boyfriend or husband after me?" Grace couldn't answer right away. She lowered her gaze. "I left back then because I didn't want to bring shame to your life," she admitted. "I was afraid I'd ruin everything for you. I was ashamed of who I was." "I won't lie," Caleb said after a long pause. "When I first found out about your past, I was disappointed. I was shocked, confused. But it didn't take long to realize that what I feel for you outweighs anything from the past or what people might think." Grace lifted her eyes and met Caleb's. His expression hadn't changed. It still looked at her the same way it did years ago. In that moment, it felt like no time had passed. "I found out I was pregnant too late," she whispered. "And by then, you were so far away. I never told you. But yes, the twins are yours. You don't need to do a DNA test. They're your children." Caleb's eyes widened. He was stunned. Yes, he had felt anger before. But would he hold on to that number? He didn't want to make the same mistake again, letting his emotions take over, pushing Grace further away. There was no point blaming her. He knew deep inside he shared in that mistake. Caleb gently took her hand. "I'll take responsibility, Grace. Let's start over. Let's rebuild the family we once dreamed of. Let's forget the past and move forward." Grace gave him a small smile and slowly pulled her hand back. "I'm sorry, Caleb. If you want to be part of the twins' lives, I won't stop you. But as for the two of us, I've already moved on. I've locked that part of my heart a long time ago. We both got hurt, and I'm truly sorry for what I did. But I hope we can agree, for the children's sake." She turned away and opened the door to return to the hospital room. Inside, she knelt down and spoke to her sons, explaining everything clearly and gently. She also apologized for not telling them about their father sooner. The twins didn't get upset. In fact, they thanked her and were happy to finally know their dad. Antonio was equally pleased when Grace confirmed the truth. He still insisted on conducting a DNA test, not because he didn't believe her, but so they'd have documented proof that the twins were truly his great-grandchildren. Grace didn't argue. What mattered to her was her children's happiness. A few days later, after Antonio was discharged from the hospital, Grace came over to his house to pick up the boys. "Why don't you have dinner here first?" Antonio offered. "Stay a bit longer. I'd love the company." "Thank you, but we'll eat at the apartment. I still have to help the boys study before school starts," Grace replied. "Lately, I've noticed you seem uneasy around me," Antonio said. "Is it because you and Caleb haven't worked things out? Or maybe something Caleb told me about your mother?" Grace was caught off guard. "What did he say? What exactly did Caleb tell you?" she asked, suspicious. Antonio chuckled quietly. "Do you really think I would have gotten to where I am in life if I listened to everything people said? You don't need to hide anything from me. I don't judge people based on gossip. I judge them based on what I see." "I don't care what people say either," Grace answered. "What matters to me is my children. I won't let the past stain who they are. I'll protect them from that always." "That's something we agree on," Antonio said warmly. "You don't need to avoid me anymore. Even if Caleb wants to take responsibility and marry you, I wouldn't oppose. All I've ever wanted was for Caleb to have children and be happy. If that means forming a family with you, then I support it." Before Grace could respond, Caleb entered the living room. "Don't expect anything yet, Grandpa," he said, "but I'll do everything I can to bring our family together." Grace looked at Caleb and let out a quiet laugh. "It won't be easy, you know." "Even for the kids' sake?" Caleb asked. "They're the ones asking us to become a real family again." Grace was about to respond when the twins came out from the kitchen and ran to her. "Mommy, can we have dinner here tonight? Is that okay?" Ethan asked excitedly. "Ms. Celia cooked our favorite dish." "You're such sweet kids," Antonio said joyfully. "Of course your mom will let you have dinner here. In fact, you can even sleep over or live here if you want. You bring so much life into this house." "We'll just have dinner," Grace said quickly, giving Caleb a pointed look. The boys were delighted, but Grace kept her eyes on Caleb. He wasn't looking at her. He was too focused on the happy faces of his sons. Days passed, and Grace and Caleb continued co-parenting. Grace slowly became more comfortable around him and Antonio, especially because both men treated her with kindness and respect. "Oh my gosh! Is that you, Grace? You're the one handling my friend's wedding?" "I can't believe it," Emily exclaimed in shock as she walked into a coffee shop with her friend and spotted Grace sitting at a table. They approached the table. "Why, is there a problem, Emily?" asked Kylie, Emily's friend and Grace's current client. "Grace is a professional wedding planner from Canada, and she came highly recommended." "Really? Looks like you've made it far, Grace. But no matter how successful you become, you can't erase where you came from," Emily replied, sarcasm laced in her voice. "My personal life has nothing to do with my skills or work, Emily. You're not my client, so I don't need your opinion," Grace said, calmly but firmly. Emily laughed and turned to Kylie. "Don't say I didn't warn you. Your wedding might be a disaster if you let her organize it. She has no proper background. Her mother was a prostitute." Both Grace and Kylie were shocked by what Emily had just said. "Even if that's true, Emily, you have no right to judge Grace," Kylie responded, still stunned. "She clearly worked hard to get where she is. Why are you trying to destroy her in front of me?" "I'm not destroying her. I'm just telling the truth," Emily answered. Grace stood up from her chair. "If you don't want my services, I can easily walk away. I don't have time for this." She was about to leave when Kylie grabbed her arm. "No, Grace, I still want you as my wedding planner, no matter what Emily says. I'm sorry about this." Grace didn't argue and sat back down. Emily, annoyed, stormed out of the coffee shop, saying she'd wait in the car. Grace and Kylie continued their discussion. Kylie remained firm in her decision to hire Grace, and Grace sincerely thanked her for her kindness and for accepting her despite the earlier scene. Later, Grace arrived at Caleb's house to pick up the twins. "Where are the boys, Ms. Celia?" she asked the housekeeper as she stepped inside. It was still early, and she didn't want to stay long unless the kids insisted on more playtime. "They're in the playroom, ma'am. I'll go tell them you're here." Before Ms. Celia could finish, someone interrupted. "Who are you? What are you doing in Caleb's house?" A woman snapped as she stood up from the sofa and marched over to Grace. "I'm a friend. Is there a problem?" Grace replied, confused. "Friend? Are you sure? Do you think I'm that easy to fool? Are you the woman he's been seeing?" The woman asked. "I'm not his woman, and you need to calm down. Do you even know Caleb? Are you two dating?" Grace asked back. The woman straightened her posture and composed herself. "I'm Sandra. We're not currently dating, but I was once his fiancée. I just got back from Italy, and I came straight here hoping we could get back together." Grace was about to respond when the twins ran out from the playroom and ran to her. "Mommy, you're back!" they cried in unison as they hugged her tightly. "Are you ready to go home? Were you the only ones playing in the room?" Grace asked, kissing them on the forehead. "Daddy and Grandpa went out. They said they'd be back soon, and Grandpa said we're going to the amusement park tonight, Ethan said excitedly. They're your kids. Why are your children here? Sandra asked in shock. This is our dad's house. That's why we're here, Ethan answered immediately. Grace didn't have time to stop him. Wait, what? Your dad owns this house? Caleb, he has kids? When? How? I didn't know, and I thought you said you were just friends. Sandra fired off questions, her tone growing more heated by the second. She looked at Ms. Celia. Tell me the truth. What is going on here? Ms. Celia hesitated but finally answered. They're Mr. Caleb's children. I don't know the full details, but it's best if you ask him yourself. Sandra stared at Grace in disbelief. So you were never just friends. You used to be his girlfriend and you had his kids. You didn't even tell him? Sandra accused. That's not what this is. We don't have a relationship now. I was once his girlfriend, yes. He got me pregnant, but I didn't tell him. We only saw each other again recently. That's all, Grace explained. You've got some nerve trying to fool me. What do you take me for, an idiot? You're nothing but a... Sandra lunged forward and grabbed Grace's hair, pulling hard. Grace cried out and grabbed Sandra's hand, trying to break free. Let go of our mommy, the twins yelled, trying to push Sandra away. So you're the reason Caleb stopped contacting me. I won't let him choose someone like you over me. You two are not meant to be together, Sandra screamed. Please, Ms. Sandra, stop. You're hurting her. What if Mr. Caleb sees what you're doing? Ms. Celia pleaded, trying to pull them apart. But Sandra wouldn't let go. She was strong and determined. We'll tell Daddy. Let go of Mommy. She didn't do anything wrong, Eric cried, pulling on Sandra's arm. Grace felt a surge of pity for her children. Despite the pain in her scalp, she mustered the strength to grab Sandra's hair and yank it back hard. Sandra screamed in pain. You won't let go? Fine, let's see who gets bald first, Grace snapped as she pulled harder. What is going on in here? A deep, cold voice boomed from the main door. Both women froze mid-tug. Grandpa Antonio, the twins cried, rushing over to him and telling him what happened. Sandra, let her go, Caleb said, walking in behind Antonio. He strode up to Grace and forcefully removed Sandra's hand from her hair. Grace also let go. I didn't do anything wrong. She started it. And you're defending her? Is it because she has your kids? Do you love her more than me? Sandra sobbed. What are you talking about, Sandra? Caleb said firmly. I ended our engagement, not because of Grace, but because of your attitude. You're lying. I could feel it back then. I knew you loved me. I get it, Sandra, and I tried to love you. I know no one's perfect, but I couldn't accept how arrogant you were and how you look down on people beneath your social level. Maybe someone else will love you for who you are, but I'm not that person. Let's stop this before you hurt yourself, Caleb said. Sandra shook her head. Number, I won't accept your decision. I love you, Caleb. Don't do this to me. That's enough, Sandra. You need to leave. I'll call your parents and tell them what happened if you don't. Don't make Caleb and me drag you out of here, Antonio said sternly. You too, Grandpa Antonio. I thought you liked me for Caleb. I did, before I found out you were cheating behind his back with your ex-boyfriend, even while engaged to Caleb. Did you think no one would find out? I wanted to forgive you, but Caleb doesn't want you anymore, and I have no problem with Grace. She gave me what I've long prayed for, great-grandchildren. Tears streamed down Sandra's face, but after a moment she wiped them away. This isn't over. I'll make sure you all regret the choice you made today, she said coldly before storming out of the house. Grace let out a long breath and rubbed her aching scalp. Caleb quickly got an ice pack from the kitchen and gently placed it on her head. If she ever comes back, let me or Caleb know. We'll be here for you, Antonio said. Grace didn't reply. She just nodded quietly. She was still shaken and didn't want to speak. As the hours passed, The pain in Grace's scalp gradually faded. She hadn't planned to take the kids to the amusement park anymore, but seeing how excited they were earlier, she decided to push through. "I'll take the kids to the amusement park. Ms. Celia is coming with me," Antonio said. "Caleb, you stay with Grace. Call me if anything comes up, and I'll do the same." Grace didn't object when Antonio and Ms. Celia left with the twins. They arrived at the amusement park, which was crowded. The twins were full of excitement. It was their first time at an amusement park. Grace had never taken them to one back in Canada. "How are you feeling?" Caleb asked as they walked. "I'm fine. Don't worry about me," Grace answered. "I'm glad to hear that. Actually, Grandpa planned this. He wanted to give us time to talk, just the two of us." They reached a large circular area with a bench built from stone. Grace sat down. "So, what do you want to talk about?" she asked plainly. "I still love you, Grace, even now. I want us to get married, not just for the kids, but for us. I want to start over, with our children beside us. Is that still impossible?" Grace didn't answer right away. She knew Caleb. Even after all those years, she could still tell when he was being sincere. No matter how hard she tried to deny it, she hadn't completely forgotten him. She saw him every day in her children's faces. "It's not that easy, Caleb," Grace said in almost a whisper. "Why not? Is it because of your past? Are you really going to let your past ruin your future? You didn't choose that life, and you didn't bring it into the present. I don't care about any of that anymore. I just want to know one thing." Grace turned her head and saw Caleb looking straight into her eyes. "Do you still love me?" he asked. "Are you willing to start over, with me and the kids?" "Yes? No?" he pressed gently. As their eyes locked, Grace's heart began to race. That old, buried feeling started rising inside her. It had been hidden for so long, forgotten, but now it stirred once again because of him. Tears welled up in her eyes and began to fall. "What happened? Did I say something wrong? I'm sorry, Grace," Caleb said softly. She shook her head. "No, I'm crying because it all feels too heavy. I held in so much pain, so much hardship, and now it's finally coming out." Caleb immediately pulled her into a comforting embrace and gently rubbed her back. "I'm sorry, Grace. I'm sorry I wasn't there when you needed someone to stay. I'm sorry you had to raise our kids alone. Please, let me make it up to you. I won't leave again, even if you push me away 100 times. I'll keep coming back. I won't take no for an answer. I'll prove to you that I mean every word." Grace didn't respond. She just cried quietly in his arms. After a while, she calmed down. They talked more and agreed to try again, but take it slow. Grace didn't want to rush anything and overwhelm the kids. Then her phone rang. It was Ms. Celia. "Ma'am Grace, Eric fainted. We rushed him to the nearest hospital. I've texted you the address. Please come quickly," Ms. Celia said in a panic from the other end. Grace shot up from the bench, alarmed. "What? Okay, we're on our way," she replied, ending the call. She quickly told Caleb what Ms. Celia had said. The two of them rushed to the hospital address she had texted. When they arrived, they were met with terrible news. Eric had leukemia. Grace's world shattered at that moment. Thankfully, treatment was possible through chemotherapy. According to the doctor, if Eric received bone marrow transplant, his chances of recovery were high. And though Eric's blood type was rare, Caleb was a match. He donated immediately. "I'll do whatever it takes, whatever my son needs to get better," Grace said with determination. "I understand," Antonio said, "but you need to rest too. I'll stay with Eric. Ms. Celia's here as well." Before he could say more, the door opened and Caleb stepped in. "Can I talk to you, Grandpa?" "It's about the company. We're losing clients and board members," Caleb said seriously. He looked stressed and worn out, still recovering from donating his marrow. "Can this wait, Caleb?" Grace asked with concern. You really need to rest. Just take a short break, please. She stepped closer and caught him just in time as he stumbled slightly. She helped him to the couch where Antonio and Ethan were sitting. Rest now, son. I already spoke to my assistant about what you mentioned. We won't let public opinion defeat us. If people leave, new ones will come. And if no one comes, we'll find new partners, Antonio said seriously. What happened exactly? Maybe I can help, Grace offered. I have a company in Canada, and I'm planning to expand here. Maybe I can assist you. Antonio sighed deeply and looked at her. I didn't want you to feel hurt or blame yourself for this, but Sandra quickly spread rumors about you, your background, and even poisoned Caleb's image. She made up terrible stories. We can fight them and prove them wrong. But ultimately, it's up to the public if they'll believe the truth. You can't force people to like you, Grace. Remember that. What matters is doing the right thing, and what brings you peace, Antonio added. Grace didn't speak right away. She had been about to blame herself for everything, but Antonio's words snapped her back into clarity. I'll help you. I'll do everything I can, Grace said with conviction. Antonio and Caleb exchanged a look, but didn't object. They made plans and agreed to partner up. Grace decided to work with Caleb's company to help strengthen its network. As Eric continued his treatment, Grace stayed. Her plan to return to Canada after 1 month was put on hold. Her son's health was more important. Slowly, she and Caleb grew closer again. Their kids constantly teased them, hoping they would reconcile and become a complete family. What's she doing here? Doesn't she have any shame? One woman whispered as Grace entered a 5-star hotel for an exclusive business party. Yeah, that's her, the daughter of that pimp woman, right? How'd she even get into this private event? Said another. Bold of her to show up here. Grace heard all of it, the whispers, the side glances, the judgment. She kept walking through the elegant venue, unfazed on the outside, though her heart pounded in her chest. She had received an official invitation. Caleb was one of the event's key participants, but they hadn't arrived together. He had another errand to run before the party. Oh my gosh, look who's here, the poor, pathetic little victim, Sandra scoffed, stepping in front of Grace, blocking her path. How's that collapsing career of yours going? Grace let out a quiet laugh. So it was you behind all the recent attacks. You must really be obsessed with me, Sandra. All the stories, the attention. You're making me famous. You think that's all I've got? Sandra snapped. If that wasn't enough, just wait. I've got more where that came from. She raised a wine glass and hurled the contents toward Grace, but Grace moved quickly and dodged it. You're insufferable, Sandra shrieked. You always manage to get under my skin. She lunged toward Grace, about to grab her again, when a firm hand gripped Sandra's wrist. Stop it, Sandra. Don't humiliate yourself further. Everyone's watching, said a serious male voice. Grace turned and recognized him immediately. Christian, what are you doing here? Don't tell me. You're defending her, Sandra asked in disbelief. Grace remembered him clearly. Christian, Emily's boyfriend, the same man who once insulted her mercilessly. Yes, I'm defending her. Got a problem with that? Christian said flatly. You know who I am, and if you go after her again, you'll regret it. Stay away from Grace. If I find out you're spreading rumors or attacking her again, you won't enjoy what comes next. Why are you taking her side? Sandra protested. You've known me longer than her. Come on, Sandra. Do you really want people to talk about this scene? Don't make a fool of yourself. This could reach your father, said Emily, who had just arrived, and gently pulled Sandra away from Grace. Sandra didn't resist. She allowed herself to be led away, leaving Grace momentarily stunned. I'm sorry about what happened, Christian said, once Sandra was out of earshot. Also, I wanted to say sorry for the way I treated you when we first met. The insults, everything. I was drunk, but that's not an excuse. I'm really sorry. Grace looked at him in confusion. Why are you apologizing? And why are you taking my side now? You never would have done that without a reason, especially considering how Emily feels about me. She's also sorry, he said. Grace didn't respond. She thought it might be a prank. Her expression turned skeptical. Before she could speak, the host's voice echoed across the ballroom. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us at tonight's event. This party is meant to bring people together, to reconnect and celebrate success. But tonight, I also have a very personal announcement to make. For years, I've been searching for my daughter, and thanks to Mr. Caleb Salvador, I've finally found her. Please welcome my beloved daughter, Grace Tolentino Hopkins. The crowd applauded enthusiastically. Everyone turned toward Grace, who stood frozen, her brow furrowed. Hopkins, that wasn't her surname. Before she could process what was happening, Caleb walked over, took her hand gently, and led her to the front. Gasps and whispers spread across the room as they made their way through the crowd. Happy birthday, Grace, Caleb whispered. This is my gift to you, finding your real father. He leaned closer. Don't worry, he really is your father. I took your DNA from a sample and matched it with Mr. Leo Hopkins. Grace's eyes widened. Grace, sweetheart, said a voice on the stage. A man stepped forward, tears in his eyes. I searched for your mother everywhere. I wanted to raise you, but she left when she was pregnant. She ran away because I wouldn't give her the money she demanded. I'm so thankful to Caleb for helping me find you, he added, his voice trembling. Grace couldn't hold back her emotions anymore. She broke down in tears. Leo embraced her. You look just like me, she said through sobs. Thank God I didn't take after my mother's looks. Leo laughed softly, his arms wrapped tightly around her. Joy filled the room. The party continued with even more energy. Guests approached to greet and welcome Grace. She soon discovered that her father was not only wealthy, but influential across multiple countries. Even Emily approached her to apologize. Grace appreciated the humility, and for the first time felt a genuine connection. The party concluded beautifully. Grace never saw Sandra again. Rumors said she had returned to the Italy to continue her career after her failed attempts to ruin Grace's reputation. In the days that followed, Caleb's company slowly regained traction. Thanks to Leo, public opinion about Grace began to change. The whispers and gossip faded into irrelevance. Not that Grace cared anymore. She had accepted her past. She no longer feared people discovering the truth. Happy 7th birthday, my babies. Grace greeted her twins with a wide smile as she kissed their foreheads. Caleb was there too, offering his birthday wishes and handing them each a present. They were in the backyard of Caleb's home, near the pool. It was a simple birthday celebration, just close friends and family. Grace and the twins had recently moved in with Caleb, a decision they all agreed on to help them bond and grow together as a family. Thank you, Mommy. Thank you, Daddy, the twins said in unison. Happy birthday, my nephews, Christian chimed in, standing tall and proud. I'm pretty sure your Aunt Emily and I brought the best gift. Emily also greeted the boys warmly. Over time, she had grown close to them. Grace was happy seeing that Emily had changed, becoming someone genuine and warm. Thank you, Uncle Christian and Aunt Emily, the twins replied cheerfully. Next to greet them were their grandfathers, Antonio and Leo, who both handed the twins their gifts with proud smiles. Ms. Celia, the loyal housekeeper, also came bearing her own little presents. The twins were thrilled by the attention and love they received. Mommy, can this be your gift to us? Ethan suddenly asked. Grace was puzzled. What is it, honey? Eric stepped forward and handed a small box to Caleb, who slowly opened it in front of Grace. "Will you marry Daddy?" the twins asked together. "Will you marry me, Grace?" Caleb followed, his voice sincere. Grace was stunned by the matching proposal from both father and sons. Her heart swelled, but her answer was already clear. "That was adorable. Of course, yes. I'll marry you, Caleb," Grace replied. The twins cheered and clapped, joined by everyone present. Caleb slipped the ring onto Grace's finger before she could change her mind. He hugged her tightly, and she hugged him back. Everyone who witnessed the moment was filled with joy. The family, especially, was thrilled with their decision to reconcile. The celebration continued with laughter, games, and delicious food. One of the happiest birthdays the twins had ever had. "Thank you so much for the party and gifts. We're so happy today," Ethan said, as Grace tucked him into bed. "Yeah, Mommy, we're really excited about your wedding. Will we have a baby brother or sister right after the wedding?" Eric asked from his bed across the room. Though they shared the same room, the twins had separate beds. "Do you want a sibling right away?" Caleb teased. "We won't keep that from you, if your mom agrees and fate allows it." "Don't rush things," Grace said with a smile. "Let's see what life has in store. For now, get some rest. You two were very hyper earlier." The twins nodded and settled under their blankets. Grace and Caleb each kissed them goodnight and turned off the lights before leaving the room. "Hey, where are you going?" Caleb asked with a puzzled look when he saw Grace heading in another direction. "To my room. Why?" she replied, pausing. He approached and took her hand. "Can't we sleep in the same room now? Come on, the kids are already asking for a sibling. We could start giving them playmates." Grace chuckled. "Aren't you moving a bit fast? I'm fine with sleeping in the same bed, but let's not go that far just yet. Getting pregnant and giving birth isn't exactly a walk in the park." Caleb grinned and nodded. "Fair enough. I'm good with just sleeping beside you. I promise I won't do anything you don't want." Grace shook her head with a smile, and eventually agreed. That night, they slept together in the same bed. Caleb kept his promise. Days, weeks, and months passed quickly. Eventually, Grace and Caleb got married in a church ceremony, attended by many. The rumors about Grace's past had faded into baseless stories, no longer backed by any real judgment. More people accepted her than criticized her. Their wedding was joyful and ended beautifully. Both Grace and Caleb were overjoyed, as were their loved ones. They were about to begin a new chapter of their lives. They say the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. That's what people believe. But the life and destiny of a person can never be compared to a tree and its fruit. We each face different struggles. We each make different choices. In the end, it's still up to us, whether we allow our past mistakes to define our future or choose to take control and shape the life we truly want. The end. Thank you all for watching. This is Mr. Hope. I adore you all.